Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and this is the last of my birthday whiskeys. This little gem is one that my wife got for me. Lagavulin 16 Islay Scotch, heavily peated, lots of smoke, lots of brine. As I may have mentioned in one of my other videos, okay, my wife bought it for me. It was $89.39 here locally at the cheap liquor store here in town. And that is just not a price I personally am willing to spend on something that I have no idea whether or not I'm going to like it. $90 is a lot of money, and definitely a lot of money for something that could taste horrible. Great example. We the same night that we bought these. We were going to go to the tasting library here in town, which is where in previous years I've had the opportunity to be able to taste the Pappy 15, 20, and 23-year-old. So the Pappy Van Winkle bourbons, and so the 23, for instance, it was $23.51 for supposedly, they call it a taste, but it's supposed to be an eighth of an ounce, and boy, it was an eighth of an eighth of an eighth of an ounce. Like if you went to any other dispenser and got the same tasting eighth of an ounce, you would get literally 3 or 4 times the volume that the dispenser for the 23-year was pushing out. So felt like I was getting cheated, but nonetheless, that's a price that I was willing to pay to find out that Pappy Van Winkle, all of them, leave that to the rich people who don't have any taste buds and don't know any better about whiskey, because it's awful. It's heavily oaked, over oaked. I will say it is the smoothest, most round and full-bodied flavor profile that you will find, or that I've ever had. Clearly, it's very oily, clingy, heavy, but it's literally like chewing on an oak stave. It just tastes like oak. There was no quality to it that I could appreciate. And if I had spent the $2,500 on the bottle of 23-year-old, if you can get your hands on it, that is, solely disappointed. It is purely a bragging rights whiskey, and by my account, I literally would not have given you $50 for it. I would have been disappointed if you said, here's, it only cost you $50, here's a bottle of whiskey, and I bought it and I went and drank it. I would be mad. I would think I overpaid for it because it was not good. So, along that line, I am not one who's willing to just start shelling out money for something just because it's rare. Just because it's rare doesn't make it good. And just because it's expensive doesn't make it good. And if you find something that's expensive and then find out that you don't like it, boy, that's a kick in the shorts I'm unwilling to bear. So, this is something that I would have never got for myself. But my wife said, pick out something that you would not buy for yourself, and I want to buy it for you. So, for starters, most anything above $60 is typically something I'm not going to buy for myself. And then to put it in the Islay Scotch, I've been watching reviews about it. It always sounded intriguing to me, along with like the Ardbeg and the Lefroy. They intrigued me, and those will probably be my next purchases. But I, said let's do the Lagavulin 16, and kind of an homage to Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, who's pretty much my superhero. My ideologies in life align greatly with that character, and it's pretty hilarious. So, if you haven't, go onto YouTube, check out the montage of Parks and Rec Ron Swanson quotes. They're pretty hilarious. Anyways, Lagavulin 16. So, I have already tapped into this bottle because it didn't hardly make it home before my wife and I had to try it. But as you can see, even though I've tapped into it just barely. Okay, so Islay Scotch, and I'm not going to go hog wild here because I don't need to. It has a very robust nose and flavor profile. It's very smoky, like damp campfire. Like after you've put out a campfire, say you had a bonfire that night at your house, and you want to make sure the fire's out so that it is not starting a fire while you go to bed. If the wind picks up or whatever, and you douse the campfire with water and you soak it all down. That smell that emanates out of your fire pit, that's what's coming out of this glass. I get damp campfire, charcoal, and then there's this briny saltiness in there, but a heavy smoke smell, a little bit of iodine smell. It definitely has that dry iodine smell in the back of my throat. Now, so if you're not familiar, so especially if you're a bourbon drinker or something like that, like Islay Scotch, known for heavy peated, heavy smoke, briny. It has, if you ever look at a word cloud of flavor profile words to describe Islay Scotches, a lot of them are probably going to be things that you're like, why the hell would I ever drink something like that? So like rubber, burnt tires, iodine, Band-Aids, all those smells and flavors, I guess. Probably not something that most people are going to be like, yeah, put me in, coach. I want some of that. And that's also leading into the reason why I probably would not have bought this for myself. But the concept of that and the fact that people like it intrigued me. And I will say, I am super glad that we did end up getting this bottle. So it just has this interesting burnt, charred smell, iodine. Yeah. On the flavor profile, that burn comes all the way through. I can't imagine, like, if you took that water from your doused campfire and drank it, I imagine that's what this would taste like. Has a little bit of ashiness to it. Definitely has a little bit of iodine. If you've ever used iodine tablets to purify water, if you're out hiking or camping in the backcountry, that flavor definitely comes through in this. Definitely has a brininess. There's some sweetness in there that picks up kind of right in the middle, and like a savory, meaty flavor. I don't know how to describe it. Meaty, like smokehouse meat, like cured ham maybe. Boy, I'm sure you guys can hear my dog running around upstairs. I have no idea what my wife is doing with that dog, but she's full of piss and vinegar, and I'm sure throwing that ball around for her because that dog's been in the house for a couple of days with an injured paw. So sorry if that's coming through on the audio, but this is my life. So, anyways, on the second taste, and this was true the very first time we had it, and again now, the second taste brings in all these light fruit, sweet flavors. I can't really put my finger on what exactly they all are, but there's this sweet forward to the flavor profile, and then it hits you hard with that smoke again. Get a little bit of ethanol in there, and a little bit of ashiness on the finish. And the third sip that finished it off is just like super sweet. Okay, none of that is anything that I ever would have thought that was something that I really, really would have enjoyed. But I do. And so now I think I'm going to have to go down this path a little bit further, do a little bit more exploring. Last night, I took, like, I don't even know if you can see that on the camera. There's just barely a little, like a dime-sized drop left in this glass. And I took some George Dickel rye, dumped it in my glass. So I had Lefroy, drank it, and then I had just that much left in there, and I dumped in maybe an ounce of George Dickel rye, and it blew my mind. The flavor profile changed 180 degrees. It became citrus and sweet and delicious. So if for some reason, if you have Laphroaig George Dickel rye, I encourage you to try it. I would not put hardly any more than just a drop in the glass of the Laphroaig, especially because it's expensive, but then put that George Dickel in there and it just changes so much. It's worth the try, trust me. Anyways, yeah, this is just good. If you have the chance to try it without paying through the nose for it, or if you can go to a bar, a really nice high-end bar, while you're out to dinner one night or something, and they have Laphroaig 16, or sorry, Lagavulin 16 on hand. If it costs you $10 for a glass of it, it's worth it. Give it a try. Yes, it may not be your flavor profile. I can't guarantee you that everybody's gonna like it, but it is something so far outside of the box of rye or bourbon or Canadian or Irish or even the Highland Scotches that I think you owe it to yourself to at least explore it and find out if it's something you're going to like. I personally love it. I'm glad that this glass or this bottle is now in my life. So thank you to my wife for buying this for me. Greatly appreciate it. Drop in the comments down below what you can find a bottle of Lagavulin 16 for in your area. As I said, it was $89.39 here locally at the cheap liquor store. You're probably going to be in that $90 to $120 range, I imagine. Even if you're not buying these whiskeys, if you take note of them on the shelf somewhere when you're out buying something for yourself, just kind of log that or throw it in your phone or take a picture or whatever, and then be sure to drop those still down in the comments down below. Let me know what you can find it for in your area. I would greatly appreciate it, as would other people. Thanks for watching. I don't really have too much more to say about this other than surprisingly delicious. I mean, I really was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I do, but I really, really do. Hope you do too. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and we will catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.